Hello everyone, Cortex here, and today I'm talking about Cortex. Yeah, not confusing at all. Dr. Neo Periwinkle Cortex, the main antagonist of the Crash Bandicoot series, has certainly seen highs, lows, and more lows throughout the games.
I'm stuck! The greatest evil scientist in the world! Stuck in a pipe. How could things get any worse?
And while I genuinely enjoy the flamboyant, sometimes goofy side to the character, I can't help but wonder if over time we've completely lost that evil genius from the beginning of the series. So, strap in as I go over his arc, from his dark, sinister beginnings to, well, a pathetic clown. Cortex's backstory is more tragic and bizarre than you might think. He was originally Dr. Neo Periwinkle Cortex, a circus clown born into a family of performers. He resented this life, preferring the cool, clean world of science. This led to relentless bullying from other performers who ultimately tattooed the letter N on his forehead, short for nerd. This constant humiliation and rejection explain how Cortex came to resent the world and seek world domination, and shortly after his family died in a very suspicious TNT explosion.
Coincidence? I think not!
He attended Madame Amberley's Academy of Evil, where he met future collaborators Dr. Nitrous Brio and Dr. Engine. Brio would soon join his endeavours, while Engine went on to become a world-renowned physicist, until an experiment went wrong, sending a missile right into his head. He managed to stabilise the rocket and turn it into a life support system. It's still active, flaring up during moments of anger or frustration, a direct comparison supposedly to the migraines suffered by Jason Rubin, one of the original Crash creators. Cortex took Engine in shortly after Brio betrayed him. Right before the events of Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex strikes back. But more on that later. Cortex set out with one goal, world domination. With the help of Dr. Nitrous Brio, he developed the Evolvo Ray and the Cortex Vortex, machines capable of mutating and brainwashing animals into a subservient army. Experiments were successful until they tried to mutate a Bandicoot intended to lead his commandos as general. The experiment failed, however, giving the Bandicoot, our hero Crash, free will. Crash escaped much to the dismay of Dr. Cortex, who had been warned by Brio that the machine wasn't ready. After Crash escaped, Cortex and Brio started experimenting on two female bandicoots, Tawna and Coco. Cortex ruled the Insanity Islands with an iron fist, aided by Brio and Pinstripe Potterati, a mutated Potteroo who took on a mobster persona. Crash eventually made his way through the islands, defeating Cortex's forces and destroying everything he had built, leading to a one-on-one showdown. Cortex inevitably lost to the intrepid Crash Bandicoot, falling to his death, which he luckily avoided, only to find himself in a cave full of power crystals, and thus a new idea hatched for old Cortex. By this stage, Tawna and Coco had escaped, and Dr. Embryo had betrayed him. Dr. Engine was now his head scientist, aiding him in his next scheme, using the power crystals to take over the world. They quickly ran out, and with no allies left on the planet, they turned to their enemy Crash. Cortex manipulated Crash into collecting the crystals under the guise that they were needed to save the world. Brio, however, sent his minions to stop Crash, while Coco attempted to send warnings about Cortex's evil plans. Crash eventually joins forces with Brio, powering a death ray to destroy Cortex's space station, ending his plans once again. In Warped, Cortex's space station crashed, destroying an ancient temple and releasing Uka Uka, the twin brother of Aku Aku. Uka Uka, who had been sending instructions to Cortex from his prison, was not the slightest bit pleased with Cortex's failures. He berated Cortex, took charge, and brought in Dr. Nefarious Tropy, the master of time manipulation. Their new plan was to travel through time, collecting power crystals to achieve world domination. History repeated itself, and Crash, Coco, and Aku Aku once again foiled his plans, defeating the villains and trapping the unholy trinity in the past. During the events of Warped, Cortex looks sad, pathetic, tired, and just done with everything. But let's pause and assess what we have on the table. Dr. Cortex went from a circus outcast to a student at the Academy of Evil, and then to a sinister scientist oppressing the native tribes of the Australasian Insanity Islands. Capturing and experimenting on the wildlife, he was on a steady rise toward world domination, until a string of failed experiments foiled his plans 3 times in a row, with the stakes and magnitude of his failures rising each time. But now the story gets muddled. since there are different continuities. I'll be skipping games like CTR and Crash Bash to focus on the central arc throughout the main games. In the first continuity after Warped, Cortex, Uka Uka and Entropy somehow made it out of the past. They repeatedly failed to spread evil, eventually focusing their soul energy on destroying Crash using the artificially created Crunch Bandicoot in the Wrath of Cortex. I won't dive too much into this, I already did in my Wrath of Cortex review, an absolute masterpiece of a video by the way, a cough cough. It's clear in this game that Cortex is no longer the dark imposing figure he once was. He retains control over his minions, but a sense of weakness is starting to show. He's sometimes unhinged, but still somewhat himself. This however all cracks and crumbles when we get to Crash Twinsanity, where old Cortex is completely gone. His minions are somewhat loyal, Uka Uka has been missing, frozen in a cavern, and it's fair to say that Cortex's mind has become a fragmented, shattered shell of what it used to be. He has suffered a complete psychotic break as a result of repeated failure. Cortex has lost any sense of self-respect, and it shows. I believe Lex Lang replacing Clancy Brown and being directed to play the character as more flamboyant and pathetic is a strong driving force here. While we'd seen Cortex at low points before, Twinsanity dials us up to 11. Most of the game's comedy is at his expense. Cortex fails to beat Crash again at the beginning of the game, and yet again at the end, solidifying him as this pathetic clown, a loser who can't escape his past. And the sad part is, although he'd like to blame Crash for all his misfortune, he has no one to blame but himself. In the games following Twinsanity, he's not quite as pathetic, but still pretty sad. His entire evil hierarchy is overthrown in Titans by his niece, Nina. Of all people, imagine being overthrown by your niece. Even then, while he's a zany goofball, it doesn't stack up to the rock bottom low he hit in Twinsanity, where literally no one respected him. The other major continuity is established in Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. After the events of Warped, Cortex and Entropy have grown up from babies in their time prison. Cortex is shown to have sunk so low as to fantasize about beating Crash using a dummy and a stick. He shows absolutely no enthusiasm for Uka Uka and Entropy's attempts at escape, and even when they do break free, Cortex is so disinterested he lets Entropy take charge of everything and carries out duties like their chores. Instead of relishing the chance to plot world domination, he shows no interest in Embryo or Engine's endeavours and goes off to the 11th dimension to set up his iceberg lab, a clear nod to Twinsanity. It's here we see a flash of the old Cortex, using robots as a line of defence and hatching a cartoon villain scheme to blow Crash up, but as usual he fails and Crash eventually defeats him, leading to this cutscene.
Blasted bandicoots! No. Must we keep going around and around like this? Tell me, Crash, is this all there is? Forever? No.
I knew you would be unable to handle this simplest of tasks.
Gloat all you want.
I'm going to reset the timeline and rebuild it to my liking. Become a god, which means you won't exist. And neither will those feather-brained masks or those meddling marsupials.
Wiped from existence by that pompous peacock? I'd like to see him try after I shove that tuning fork up his...
But not if we get to him first.
It appears we have a common enemy. Perhaps there's a way out of our endless cycle after all. Huh? Okay.
Cortex, now forced to work with Crash and Coco, is seen as a small, pathetic coward. He proves this when after Crash defeats the Entropies, he once again tries to kill Crash and take over the world by stealing the quantum masks and traveling back to Cortex Castle in 1996 to stop his past self from ever creating Crash. Once more, Crash defeats him and Cortex is left in a prison outside of time and space in a familiar wasteland. He's so fed up, he lays down to relax, but he can't even enjoy that because a familiar voice voice and face returns, Uka Uka's presence at the end of the game suggests he's got something big in the works for the two of them, which will inevitably lead to Cortex failing yet again. And well guys, that's it for today. My Crash Twinsanity review is coming soon, but it may take a while as there's a lot to cover there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did we lose the evil genius, or has the pathetic clown become the character's definitive and more fun identity? Also, let me know what you'd like to see next. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe to get a free trip to Cortex's Iceberg Lab and a free old man. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Now, I'm off to find out if Uka Uka has some thick cheeks.